a mystery, and a dream, should my early life seem. The esteemed Reverend Rufus Griswold is everything I aspire to be, though I fear I shall never soar so quite as high as he. I have absolutely no pleasure in the stimulants in which I sometimes so madly indulge. It has not been in the pursuit of pleasure that I have periled life and reputation and reason. It has been the desperate attempt to escape from torturing memories, from a sense of insupportable loneliness and a dread of some strange impending doom. Literature is the most noble of professions. In fact, it is about the only one fit for a man. For my own part, there is no seducing me from the path. The true genius shudders at incompleteness, imperfection, and usually prefers silence to saying the something which is not everything that should be said. All religion, my friend, is simply evolved out of fraud, fear, greed, imagination, and poetry. With me poetry has been not a purpose, but a passion, and the passions should be held in reverence. They must not, they cannot at will be excited, with an eye to the paltry compensations, or the more paltry commendations, of mankind. If you wish to forget anything on the spot, make a note that this thing is to be remembered. Beauty of whatever kind, in its supreme development, invariably excites the sensitive soul to tears. There is no exquisite beauty, without some strangeness in the proportion. It is by no means an irrational fancy that, in a future existence, we shall look upon what we think our present existence, as a dream. Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there, wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. Those who dream by day are cognizant of many things which escape those who dream only by night. And so being young and dipped in folly, I fell in love with the melancholy. Were I called on to define, very briefly, the term art, I should call it the reproduction of what the senses perceive in nature through the veil of the soul. The mere imitation, however accurate, of what is in nature, entitles no man to the sacred name of artist. There are certain themes of which the interest is all-absorbing, but which are too entirely horrible for the purposes of legitimate fiction. A million candles have burned themselves out. Still I read on. The most natural, and, consequently, the truest and most intense of the human affections are those which arise in the heart as if by electric sympathy. If a man deceives me once, shame on him. If he deceives me twice, shame on me. The fury of a demon instantly possessed me. I knew myself no longer. My original soul seemed, at once, to take its flight from my body, and a more than fiendish malevolence, gin-nurtured, thrilled every fiber of my frame. In beauty of face no maiden ever equaled her. It was the radiance of an opium dream, an airy and spirit-lifting vision more wildly divine than the fantasies which hovered about the slumbering souls of the daughters of Delos. Men have called me mad, but the question is not yet settled, whether madness is or is not the loftiest intelligence. Where the good and the bad and the worst and the best have gone to their eternal rest. The best chess player in Christendom may be little more than the best player of chess, but proficiency in whist implies capacity for success in all those more important undertakings where mind struggles with mind. There is no exquisite beauty, says Bacon, Lord Verulam, speaking truly of all the forms and genera of beauty, without some strangeness in the proportion. An enthusiasm for Poe is the mark of a decidedly primitive stage of reflection. Baudelaire thought him a profound philosopher. Poe was much the greater charlatan of the two, as well as the greater genius. It's a case of mistaken identity. It's one big mistake. You weren't even in the country when it happened. And, indeed, if ever that spirit which is entitled romance, if ever she, the wan and the misty-winged Ashtafet of idolatrous Egypt, presided, as they tell, over marriages illumined, then most surely she presided over mine. I admire the man's genius. I sense in his writings a strong kinship with my own mind. They have a macabre quality, a voluptuous flavor of mystery and evil which attracts me strongly. La desdica est diversa. La desgracia con multiforme sobre la tierra. Displegada sobre el ancho horizonte como el arco iris. Sus colores son tan variados como los de estoy también tan distintos y tan íntimamente unidos. At midnight, in the month of June, I stand beneath the mystic moon. A feeling, for which I have no name, has taken possession of my soul. Long suffering had nearly annihilated all my ordinary powers of mind. I was an imbecile, an idiot. I would have soothed, I would have reasoned, but, in the intensity of her wild desire for life, but for life solace and reason were the uttermost folly. How had I deserved to be so blessed by such confessions? How had I deserved to be so cursed with the removal of my beloved in the hour of her making them? But upon this subject I cannot bear to dilate. You will say, no doubt, using the language of the law, that to make out my case, I should rather undervalue, than insist upon a full estimation of the activity required in this matter. This may be the practice in law, but it is not the usage of reason. Man could not both know and succumb. Meantime huge smoking cities arose, innumerable. Green leaves shrank before the hot breath of furnaces. The fair face of nature was deformed as with the ravages of some loathsome disease. This the mass of mankind saw not, or, living lustily although unhappily, affected not to see. But, for myself, the earth's records had taught me to look for widest ruin as the price of highest civilization. When I was young and filled with folly, I fell in love with melancholy. I was cautious in what I said before the young lady, for I could not be sure that she was sane, and, in fact, there was a certain restless brilliancy about her eyes that half led me to imagine she was not. I have before suggested that a genuine blackguard is never without a pocket handkerchief.